Welcome back. We're here talking girls basketball here in Durant with Coach Tony Newman. Tony, let's talk about our 3 games here that we've had so far.
Okay.
2 wins, one against Fort Madison, 42-35. Big conference win over Tipton, 45-38. And stumbled a little bit, but stayed in the game. Marquette over the weekend here, 54-35 loss. Start out with Fort Madison, the Bloodhounds. You guys have played these guys now twice.
Right, this is our third time playing them. We've opened the season with them the last 2 seasons. We've always gotten a win, but they're a much improved team. We traveled down to Fort Madison this year. It was tight. We were down early in the game, kind of struggled, battled back and forth. Really physical game. We were still a little timid with that preseason and really came out well in the second quarter. Kind of built that lead and were able to maintain the lead for the rest of the game.
Is physical play attributed to them being a higher class?
I think so. It's just a different style of basketball. It's 3A down there. It might be 4A with the new 5-class system, but it's just a different style than we're used to in our conference. But that's a good thing. Our girls really stepped up and were physical right back. So it was a really good game.
Scores, 3 double-figure scores. That's always good for a first game. That balanced stuff. You can deal with some of the other things. I mean, Grant, it's kind of hard to analyze a first game because you got 20 left, you know.
Right. Janie Botkins was our leading scorer with 14, the freshman guard. She was probably an unknown to a lot of people, but they're already going to know who she is, putting up those kind of numbers. Sid had 12, Lilienthal, and then Paige Compton had 10. So you get 3 girls putting up 36 points. It's going to be a good night for us.
36 points to go with 35 rebounds. 35 rebounds has to be a high here for in a while.
Right. We're one of the concerns we had this year were rebounding. It's not like we have girls that can't rebound. It's just we've lost the depth of our rebounding. So instead of having 3 or 4 girls that can rebound the ball, we're going to have to rely on 2 or 3, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal. But when you only got 5 out there, losing 1 big rebounder hurts. So
do you anticipate guards crashing the boards here as it warrants?
I think some of our guards, the bulk of the rebounding for our guards will come down to Sydney and Paige, just because sheer height. We're going to have to rely on some of our other forwards to get some more rebounds, but Botkins and Williams both play a lot, but they're both about 5'3", so they'll get a couple here and there, but they'll have to get the long rebounds. We'll have to get the bigger girls to fight for the higher numbers there.
And one thing also on the stat sheet here, 4 3-pointers. That's also has to be a smile to your face.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sid last year would go in streaks. She's hit 5 in a game twice over the last 2 years, but we can add Botkins now who can hit from the outside, and even Compton hit, I think, 1 or 2. You start adding that outside threat, it really opens up the middle for us.
One last thing on this, 2 quarters with over 10 points, a 17-point quarter and a 16-point quarter. It's hard for me to find too many negatives for a first game.
Yeah, just that first and third where we only put up 9 points total and that's been our downfall the last few years. Is we'd be right in games, then we'd lay a 0, and we just have to stop doing that. And then, of course, Tipton we opened with a 0. So
Tipton's game was an interesting game. There's a lot of history here with you and Tipton, and it seems like no matter what, it's either close or it's never over until it's over.
Right.
This was the same case.
Yeah, we came out and just played an awful first quarter, and I think at one point it was 13-0 at the end of the first quarter. I think we were actually down 18-3 early in the second quarter, and then the girls just started turning it on. Sid Lilienthal went off. I didn't even realize after the game she had 30 points. She had all 16 of our points in the second quarter. I guess it's kind of weird thinking like you don't know that as a coach, but we really didn't know because other girls were taking good shots. They just weren't going in.
Right.
And I thought someone else had knocked down a shot, but she might have had her first 20 for all I know.
Well, at that point too, you're not focusing on who's scoring. It's like what's going to work to get some points, to get back into this, cut it to 10, cut it to 5, or whatever. It was 20-10 at one point in the second quarter. A little more manageable than just mentally manageable, if nothing else.
Right. And then we talked about, into the first quarter we were down 13-0. I said, let's just get to halftime down 7. That was our goal, just to get down 7. Let's cut that lead in half, and we'll get into break. Down 7 is not insurmountable at a halftime. The girls really played well, and I think we were only down 6 at half. And then in the third quarter, I think we ended up being up going into the fourth. So the girls really pressed hard in those middle 2 quarters and really battled back. It helped that Tipton didn't get a lot of shots to fall in those 2 quarters, and we started hitting pretty solid 3-pointers again, brought us back into the game.
Now, early on in the first quarter, it seemed like it could have been a lot worse than 13. They had their press going, and yes, you were getting shots off, but they just seemed like they controlled the game at that point.
Yes, they did. It was a little nerve-wracking on the sideline, thinking, I mean, Tipton isn't picked to be first or second in our conference by any means. It's not like they're a bad team, but that's just kind of how the conference goes. That every night's a dogfight, and if you don't show up ready to play, anyone's going to lay a hurting on you. Tipton put the hurt on us early. Their defense really gave us problems.
Something that helped get you out of that, like you alluded to, 3 straight 10-point or more quarters. In this case, it was back-to-back 16-point quarters. Like you said, Sydney had a lot to do with that.
Right. And that's something we talked about a lot at the end of the game is, for years, we've struggled to get in the 40s offensively. Right. Against Tipton, we put up 45 points in basically 2.5 quarters. So offensively, we have some firepower this year, but whenever we don't start hotter, whenever we kind of take those lapses, same as Fort Madison, we're going to struggle. I mean, our defense is okay, but we're undersized. Gert gave us a lot of problems down low. She had 10, and I think Coffran had 10 too. So their post really hurt us early. We've made some adjustments, but their shots didn't fall at the end, and ours were going in, so it's a big deal.
Now they had a new lineup as well, so it was kind of an interesting first home game. I mean, you guys came off a game over 40 points and putting up back-to-back 40 points. What did you guys learn about your team from that Fort Madison to Tipton? Now, granted, you guys didn't have too many practices right between there, but was there anything that you guys took from that?
I think the biggest thing we're learning is we've got to adjust how we're going to defend the post players. It's not something as simple as the post down low. We got to work on help. We got to work on ball pressure from our guards. It's a whole team effort to change our post defense.
So another stat in here too: 30 rebounds, back-to-back 30 rebound games.
Yeah, girls have been working hard on the boards. We're not going to win the rebound battle a lot of nights, and we know that. We just want to keep it close to even as we can. Sydney again pulling down 12 rebounds is a big push for that.
Good effort.
Yeah, 30 points, 12 rebounds, a heck of a night, especially the way we started. So the other thing with rebounds is we're really going to try to focus on limiting the other team's offensive rebounds. That was our big downfall Saturday against Bellevue Marquette. I think they ended up with 18 offensive rebounds against us, and 5 of those they put back in. So they got 10 points off of offensive rebounds. The difference there is Fort Madison, Tipton, we kind of limited the putbacks. So I mean, that's what we really try to focus on.
Moving ahead to transition into Marquette. Marquette, a ranked team in 1A, state qualifier here recently. You travel to there. Second road game, so I mean, there's not any unexpected, I'm guessing,
right.
Any jitters or whatnot.
No, we came out. It was actually probably our best start of the year. Was at Marquette. We were up 5-4 early, then it was tied at 6 with about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, and then kind of the wheels fell off for, unfortunately, till half. We could not make a basket. We didn't have a lot of turnovers. We weren't making a lot of unforced errors. We just could not put the ball in the hole, and they went on a heck of a run and just made shot after shot after shot against us.
Now Marquette has 4 players back from that state tournament team starters. How does that play into a roster or a lineup? Does that allow them to play looser, or does it? I mean,
they were definitely a lot more confident than we were. Some of that might be them playing at home. Could have been they had knocked off Bellevue the week earlier. That was a big win for them. Bellevue was 4th, and you could just see the confidence on their girls' faces. We were up early, and even most of that first quarter, we were just as confident. When they started hitting every shot and kind of beating us on a couple back doors, you could kind of see our girls get a little bit rattled, and then offensively, we're just trying too hard to get the ball in the hole. I mean, we weren't We weren't taking all of them in rhythm necessarily. Some were, but we were forcing up some shots, trying to keep pace, and we just fell behind by too many, and we could just never get it any closer.
Do they play kind of up and down style then?
They didn't press. They just sat in the half court and kind of
just were efficient.
They just were very efficient. Offensively, they probably 3/4 of their shots came within 6 feet. They were very patient. They just moved very well without the ball and looked to get many close shots as possible. They're a well-coached team.
With that said, you did score 14 first half points, 8 in the first, 6 in the second.
Right.
You don't like to look at that necessarily, but you guys were scoring a little.
The one thing we talked about after the game, and there wasn't a lot of positives because we played poor defense for the most part, but we struggled in that game and we put up 35 points. Our struggles the last 3 years is when we score 18, when we score 20. I mean, we struggled and put up 35 is a good sign for us.
I was going to say the last couple of years, no
that's
offense
fine.
to the teams. I'm just saying
35. I mean, I think we averaged 38 last year.
When you struggled,
right.
And 35 points is going to keep you in games this
right.
year.
Free throw.
That's
right. We didn't shoot very many free throws. I think we were 3 of 5 for the night, and they were. I don't have it written down. I think they were 12 of 18. So I mean, if we can get to the line a little bit more, we're scoring in the 40s, and that's where we want to be every night. I mean, we're not going to be a team that comes out and puts up 70 consistently. We're not that up and down team. So if we're scoring in the 40s, we're doing okay.
9 players scored, 11 players got a rebound. Now, granted, some of that's probably when the game gets out of hand, but I mean, some of these girls that haven't had some statistical scorebook here in the previous 2 games get their name in the scorebook. Maybe that gives them a boost heading into this week's practice.
I think so. Kind of probably one of the prouder moments is for Brandy Buckwald. She's a senior that came back out. She hasn't been out since junior high. They called a timeout with a couple minutes left. We had the ball under our basket. We kind of ran a little design play. She ends up shooting it from just a step inside the 3-point line and went in. So the girls are all happy for that. Anytime you get a kid that hasn't come out in a couple of years can get some minutes and actually score, I mean, that's more than she expected to do for the whole year. So that was kind of a shining moment at the end. And then the girls that did get in that haven't been getting in, they did some nice things. Marquette only goes they only have 10 girls on the roster, so they go 8 or 9 deep for most of the game, so it's not like they were playing mop-up minutes against girls that they weren't in. We had everyone in with 5 minutes to go, and they still had a lot of their starters in. So we kind of we played even the 4th quarter. So the girls did well.
Well, let's step aside one more time, and we have 3 games to talk about this week. It seems like we're in that stretch from 2-3 games a week. So anyway, we'll be right back.